Earlier this week, the Trump administration weighed in on which bathrooms transgender students should be allowed to use at public schools. They announced the reversal of Obama-era guidance directing schools to allow students to use bathrooms based on the gender that they actually identify with. The Trump administration says that this is a matter best left up to the states and local school districts. A September Pew Research Center poll showed Americans were divided on this issue, with roughly half of respondents saying transgendered people should be allowed to choose which bathroom they use. Well, Kerri Kupec joins me from Washington. She's the Legal Communications Director for Alliance Defending Freedom. Kerri, first, we've had advocates from the transgender community on this week, and we've asked them why the bathroom issue is so important to them. So I want to ask you the same question. Why is the bathroom issue so important to your organization?
Well, for starters, it's not just about bathrooms. It's about locker rooms and showers. These are facilities where people are undressing and engaging in these kinds of intimate activities. And so the reason that we find this issue to be so important is that there are a lot of students and concerns out there about the possibility of having to undress in the presence of the opposite biological sex. So what I've been saying is, yes, we should listen to Gavin Grimm and we should listen to transgender students and listen to their concerns. But we absolutely need to be listening to the other students who also have concerns and privacy needs as well.
So is there some sort of happy median here?
Yeah, I absolutely think there is, and I think that a lot of schools have already been doing this. I think that there are solutions that respect the privacy needs of all students, and I think that includes something like creating compassionate and sensitive solutions for students who are working through gender identity issues, such as access to single-stall facilities, private dressing rooms, things like that. But it's very important that we acknowledge and recognize the many voices and concerns and the needs of all students in this debate.
When the Obama administration put this guidance into place, it was based on the interpretation of Title IX. That's a law that bans sex discrimination in public schools. What do you think of that argument? Do you think this holds?
I think the Title IX argument is an interesting one because if you remember, in the early 1970s, Title IX was created to really protect women. It was to ban sex discrimination, and at that time, sex was known to mean biological sex. And if you look at the record and you look at just the time, gender identity wasn't on anyone's radar. But this was something designed to give women a fair shake, to give them the equal opportunities and access to educational opportunities and facilities that their male counterparts were getting. So what's interesting now to see that in Title IX, in some of these cases that we're seeing pop up across the country, Title IX is being used actually against women, against the women who feel understandably uncomfortable undressing in the presence of the opposite biological sex. In fact, we represent over 100 students and parents in a school district in Illinois, and a number of the girls there went to the school board voicing their affection and compassion for their transgender classmate, but also voicing their concern and their distress over the possibility of undressing in front of him. And those girls' voices were not given any weight. And I'm very concerned when we're looking at this dialogue and in the public square and in the media that we're not listening to the other students as well.
I want to play some sound for you. It's of President Trump talking about this issue back in April. Let's listen to this.
One of the best answers I heard was from a commentator yesterday saying, leave it the way it is right now. There have been very few problems. Leave it the way it is. North Carolina, what they're going through with all of the business that's leaving and all of the strife, and that's on both sides. You leave it the way it is. There have been very few complaints the way it is. People go, they use the bathroom that they feel is appropriate. There has been so little trouble.
So if Caitlyn Jenner were to walk into Trump Tower and want to use the bathroom, you would be fine with her using any bathroom she chooses?
That is correct.
He said leave it the way it is. Why do you think he backtracked on this issue?
I don't think he backtracked at all, because the next month he did an interview with George Stephanopoulos where he said this should be an issue left to states and left to local schools and left to their control. And I think it makes sense. Schools, states, the local administrators, the teachers, the principals, these are the people who are working with students day in and day out. These are the people who know these students best, and these are the people who have been creating compassionate and sensitive solutions for all students. And again, I don't know if you saw, Chris Cuomo of CNN's New Day, he tweeted just this week that a 12-year-old girl or her parent were the problems if they had a problem with this girl being exposed to a penis in a locker room. So the fact that we're at a point in the national conversation where we're now blaming girls for being uncomfortable to be exposed to male anatomy in a private room like a locker room, that's a problem. We should be fair and we should be listening to everyone's voice on this.
I know there are a lot of passion on both sides of this issue. I want to play something for you, though. On Friday, we had transgender Virginia teenager Gavin Grimm. He joined us here on CBSN, and he's fighting his school board for the right to use the bathroom that matches his gender identity. And his case is set to go before the Supreme Court next month. Let's listen to some of what he had to say.
So there's a few unisex options. We most notably that we've talked about a lot, that I've talked about a lot, are the nurses' restrooms, which are single stall. But then there's these unisex restrooms they constructed as a means to, I think, pacify me, which were turned into bathrooms from utility closets. I think 2 of them were utility closets. So essentially they're trying to literally force me into the closet to go through that. As an individual, you're already a high school student. I mean, you already have things that are going to be stacked against you, especially as a transgender high school student when and in a rural conservative area. And then to have a school administration set this kind of precedent within the student body that this student is different and this student is not to be participating in the same capacities as the other students are, it's absolutely devastating. And so for me, it's been humiliating, it's been stigmatizing, it's been upsetting, it's been frustrating, and it's absolutely had a detrimental impact on my ability to perform at school.
So, Kerri, Gavin makes the argument here that using the bathroom that he feels most comfortable, not being able to have access to that, is impacting his right to an education. What's your reaction to that?
I think it's absolutely important to listen to Gavin's concerns and feelings. They matter. And that's why the school went to a number of lengths to provide Gavin with sensitive accommodations where Gavin could undress and use the restroom. But Gavin used the word, it's devastating, it's humiliating, it's stigmatizing. Well, that's what a lot of the girls and high school girls in some of the lawsuits that we're currently engaged in, those are the same feelings that they're using to describe the thought of having to undress in front of their biologically male classmate. So again, I think it's absolutely necessary that we make sure we are listening to all voices on this particular issue. And Gavin, who's at the center of the Gloucester Supreme Court case, in that particular case, the Women's Liberation Front, that's an organization, a feminist organization, they filed a friend of the court brief. And they expressed understanding for transgender students and folks, but they also said, look, as women, we don't want Title IX being used against us in this way. And this undermines a lot of progress that women have made. And surely there is a solution that compassionately and sensitively addresses everyone's voices and concerns on this topic.
And the Supreme Court will hear this case next month, and we'll see where this goes. Kerri Kupec from the Alliance Defending Freedom. Thank you very much, Kerri.
Thank you.